Hi guys, Mike in the Woods here. Winter camping, just as the name implies, is the concept of going out and camping in the middle of winter. To most people, it sounds crazy if they don't know what to expect. If you're watching this video though, you must at least be a little bit interested in the idea, and I can tell you, after having experienced it myself, it's not as bad as you might expect if you go in armed with the right knowledge, gear, and state of mind. I just did my first overnighter trip in January, and the temperatures dropped down to about negative 18 degrees Celsius overnight before wind chill. I was in a tarp and hammock, and you know what? I was comfortable the entire time and came out having experienced something amazing with a sense of accomplishment. So to start us off, let's answer the question, why go winter camping? What is it about winter camping that is so alluring to people, and what sets it apart from warm weather camping? What are the benefits to trekking your sorry arse out into the wintry woods and setting up camp? The answer isn't the same for everybody, but let's go over some of the common high points and benefits of winter camping and why people choose to do it. First one is no bugs. In the winter, there's no mosquitoes, no black flies, no creepy crawlers that will try and share your tent or your hammock with you. Second one is there's far fewer people. The number of people brave enough to go camping in the winter is orders of magnitude lower than those who prefer the warm weather. There's no competition for campsites, and the chances of you running into another camper are slim. Third one is the quietness. The wilderness is so much more serene and quiet in the winter. There's no leaves on the trees to rustle in the wind. Add to that the sound dampening properties of snow, and you have one of the most silent wilderness experiences you can get. Fourth one is the scenery. In the wintertime, snow-covered landscapes set against the backdrop of a clear, starry sky or gentle snowfall is a sight worth it to many winter campers. The final one is bragging rights. So few people are brave enough to spend a night or two out in the woods in the deep of winter that many people see it as a rite of passage and sense of accomplishment. By no means is that an exhaustive list. You get to see and experience many things while camping in the winter that you don't get to see any other time of year. As an associate of mine put it, embrace the cold and you'll get to experience something few other people get to. So you're still watching, so you're with me up until this point. So now begs the question, what are the main key elements that separate winter camping from warm weather camping? So here's a short bullet list. You need to pay more attention to the environment and weather. You need more specialized gear, and we'll go into this a little more later. You need to put a strong focus on layering and heat retention, and you need to plan more thoroughly. Winter camping is, as you guessed, far more dangerous if you're not prepared for it and you half-ass things. It's certainly a fun experience when done properly, but you need to understand that at the end of the day, Mother Nature is your master. Know that you operate according to her schedule and not vice versa. Not listening to this is a good way to get yourself seriously injured or killed. Right, so let's delve deeper into those 4 points I pointed out. So the first one, you need to pay more attention to the environment and the weather. The exact temperatures you'll be facing are much more important, as a few degrees can make the difference between hypothermia and survivability, and the difference between a comfortable night's sleep and a cold, miserable experience. Before you go, know what the temperatures you'll be facing are. The highs, the lows, and the wind chill. Additionally, be prepared for freezing rain and snow, and plan accordingly. If you drive into the campsite and it snows the entire time, getting back out in your car might prove problematic or even impossible. Number 2, you need more specialized gear. In the winter time, your regular summer camping gear just won't cut it. For one thing, you'll need a sleeping bag rated for the temperatures you're going to experience. This is partially why it's so important to know the temperatures as mentioned in the first point. You want a sleeping bag that's rated to at least the coldest temperature you can expect to experience, but preferably rated to even lower temperatures, as the listed temperature on a sleeping bag is more for the survivability rating, not the comfort rating. For example, when I went on my trip in negative 18 degrees Celsius weather, my sleeping bag was actually rated down to negative 30 Celsius. Aside from the sleeping bag, you'll also need a tent or tarp that's meant for winter camping. It has to be able to withstand snowfall, freezing rain, and the coldness of the winter air. Other almost mandatory gear includes winter-rated sleeping pads, hammock quilts, and things like snowshoes if you expect there to be a lot of unpacked snow in your travels. And the third thing is you need to put a strong focus on layering and heat retention. In winter camping, the number one priority, not only from a survival standpoint but also a comfort one, is the ability to regulate your body temperature and stay warm. You produce far less body heat when you're standing still than you do when you're running around. And even things like your metabolism can jumpstart your body heat production. You want to find a sweet spot so that you're comfortably warm but also not sweating, as this can lead to rapid heat loss and lead to dangerous situations like hypothermia. The best way to go about this is to have your winter clothing spread across several layers that you can put on and take off as necessary. When winter camping, it is completely expected that you will be constantly readjusting your layers as you go through the day and into the night. You want to have enough layers so that you're nice and warm even when standing completely still, yet be able to reduce down so that even when you're in maximum effort mode, you're not sweating. At nighttime, your choice of sleeping bag and ground pad or hammock quilt factors into this equation as well. Contrary to popular belief, the point of winter camping is not to suffer. You want to be comfortable. And the fourth and final point I had pointed out was you need to plan more thoroughly. With winter camping, if things go wrong, you're arguably in a far more dangerous situation than warm weather camping. Whether it be hypothermia, frostbite, avalanches, whiteout conditions, etc., planning your trip more thoroughly is a very good idea. This sort of ties into the first point. Knowing where you're going and for how long, knowing the temperature and weather conditions. Make sure you bring enough food and water, and ways to warm it up and stop it from freezing. Let people know where and when you'll be gone, so if things go sideways, they know where to find you. Plan out your gear and recon the area. Remember that in winter, there's less daylight hours, so you should get to your campsite earlier for setup. So to wrap up those 4 points, I'm not trying to scare you off or make it seem like winter camping is some super ultra hardcore experience. However, it's important to impress upon you just how dangerous it can be if things go sideways, and that you can't half-ass it. Be smart is all I'm saying. Okay, so I've gotten the doom and gloom out of the way. Let's switch gears and take a look at some tips and tricks for winter camping, aside from things I've already covered. First one is be wary of the fact that non-lithium batteries lose power much quicker in the cold and can sometimes stop functioning entirely until they are warmed up. Bring some power banks and make sure your phone and anything else you deem critical is kept in your pockets or otherwise up against your body to keep them warm. This includes things like flashlights, so plan accordingly. The second one is snow, despite the material itself being cold, is actually, ironically, an excellent insulator. If you need to add more insulation to your tent or to reflect heat from the fire, don't discount the use of snow. Third point is avoid eating snow for hydration. Your body actually has to work extra hard to warm up the water you just ate. Not to mention, some dangerous bacteria can still be hanging out in the snow. Always melt your snow first, even if you are purifying it through other means other than boiling. Fourth point, when it comes to food and water, keep in mind that you'll basically be outside in a giant refrigerator or freezer depending on the exact temperature. You'd be able to bring with you perishable food and have it keep for much, much longer, probably the entire duration of your trip, but also keep in mind that within the first few hours, your water and your food will likely freeze. Keep your immediate drinking water against your body to keep it in liquid form. If you can't, at the very least store it upside down, as water actually freezes from the top down, and that won't freeze the part that you drink from. The fifth point is in cold temperatures, condensation is actually a major concern. It might seem counterintuitive, but make sure that your tent can breathe and never ever cover your mouth with your sleeping bag and breathe into it overnight. Sixth point, for clothing material, try to stick to wool-based clothing if possible. At the very least, do your utmost to avoid cotton. And this is for heat retention concerns. For the seventh point, be careful of the snow's depth, especially if you don't have snowshoes. It's hard to tell at a glance just how deep it is. Snow can easily be 2 feet or deeper, and you'll sink right into it if it's not packed. Final point is, whatever your estimate is for how much firewood you'll need, double it or even triple it. Whether it's for continuously melting snow, cooking, or staying warm, you'll consume much more firewood in the winter than you would in the warm weather. So if you follow these tips, you should find your winter camping experience goes much smoother. Following up on that, let's take a look at some common winter and winter camping myths that I haven't otherwise already dispelled. I feel these should be busted for your own safety. Myth: shivering is a sign or the first sign of hypothermia. Truth: this is false. The first symptom is reduced muscle strength and response time. A good test is the finger-thumb test. Touch your thumb to each of your fingertips. If you have difficulty doing this, hypothermia is likely starting to settle in and you need to get warm and dry immediately. Myth: drinking alcohol warms you up. The truth: completely false. It might give you the sensation of feeling warm, but it is actually, in reality, doing the exact opposite, furthering dehydration, diluting the blood vessels to quicken heat loss, and impairing your judgment and motor skills, further impacting your ability to make decisions that could save your life. Life pro tip: don't bring alcohol with you on a winter camping trip, especially your first few. It's just not worth it. The final myth: waterproof clothes are ideal. The truth: also very false. The last thing you want when you're outdoors in the wintertime is to start sweating. Waterproof clothes make it much, much easier for you to start sweating. You want breathable clothes, but warm ones. In fact, you want the exact opposite of what this myth says. You want your clothes to wick away moisture as quickly as they can. So, that about wraps up my beginner's guide to winter camping. I mean, obviously it's not a complete and fully detailed instruction manual, but it's enough information to make sure you look at winter camping with a good sense of direction and safety. It can be challenging, but if you're up for it, it can be so rewarding. Knowledge, respect for the environment, and the right state of mind will set you off in the right direction. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any comments, questions, or clarifications to make, please leave a comment below, and me or someone knowledgeable in the subject will be sure to leave an answer or reply. As always, if you like what you see, please be sure to like, subscribe, and maybe even share with your friends. If you want to help with the channel, I have Amazon affiliate links to some good winter camping gear in the description, as well as some other links if you're interested in helping us out. See you next week.